No fantasy football season is perfect. None of mine are perfect. Yours probably is not going perfectly as well. I've got 8 players for us to either target or trade away in trades in your leagues right now. We're going to trade away maybe Saquon Barkley. I've got 2 league-winning trades for us to make at the end. But let's go ahead and just get right into it. We're going to begin with a hot and heavy name. I think that we should be selling Saquon Barkley. He is in the middle of a run right now where he has had 4 straight games with fewer than 95 or more scrimmage yards. That is only the 4th time in his career that has been true. The touchdown that he scored against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, I have never seen Saquon Barkley have a faker touchdown in my life. They ran a fake tush push in a regular season game. I think it's pretty clear that Barkley is just not as efficient as he has been in years past. He's averaging less than 4 yards per carry. He only has 6 forced mixed tackles on 77 rushes. He has 16 targets with a 64% route rate. 0.93 yards per route run is not great for a running back. And I'm not saying that you have to get rid of Saquon Barkley for anything that is not tied down. But right now, the reality is that Saquon Barkley's name is carrying more value than the fantasy points that he is actually scoring. And I think a reasonable question to ask is, okay, Davis, you say let's trade away Saquon Barkley. What does that actually mean? I think the top guy right now that I'm looking at acquiring would be Drake London. I think in a lot of leagues, you could offer Barkley for London. London is one of the few elite profile wide receivers, target share above 25%, yards per route run above 2, that looks like a real value. Wide receiver scoring is down across football. Barkley is one of the few guys who is scoring well enough that he's still attractive in a trade, but not well enough that you are going to absolutely hate your life if you trade him away. The Eagles are a less consistent, less explosive offense than they've been in years past, so I say we sell Saquon Barkley. Moving on now to a more interesting one. I have Hunter Henry as a sell, and again, you might be saying, Davis, what's the point? I drafted Hunter Henry in the 13th round of my draft. He currently is one of the 5 highest scoring tight ends in fantasy football. He keeps scoring touchdowns every single week. Why would I want to get rid of this guy? No one is going to be buying this profile. And maybe you're right. This might be an example of a high and mighty fantasy football analyst coming down and telling you to do something that is not practical. He has 22 targets thus far, an 81% route rate, 1.81 yards per route run, plays a decent amount of routes out of the slot. I think there are 2 things that really contribute here. The first being, I actually anticipate the Patriots offense tilting much more heavily towards the run once Trevion Henderson is the clear lead back, particularly in the red zone. I think once Henderson is fully unleashed, one of the things that Josh McDaniel and Mike Vrabel will realize is it's actually a lot easier to convert in the red zone when you have Trevion Henderson handling the ball as opposed to Ramondre Stevenson. The other thing is Stephon Diggs finally showed signs of life with his first 100-yard game in week 4. I anticipate over the next month of the season, over the next 12 weeks of the season, that the offense is going to heavily tilt in Diggs' favor as he gets more healthy from this ACL recovery. Remember, we actually did not expect Stephon Diggs to be playing in week 1. When we were drafting Stephon Diggs, we thought there was a chance he would start the season on the physically unable to perform list. He's currently healthy, he's currently playing in the games, but he's going to be getting more and more efficient as the season continues. The other element is Kyle Williams has also not been fully unleashed in this offense. Again, my guess would be is when Kyle Williams begins to supplant Mac Hollins and Kayshon Boutte, Kyle Williams is going to earn a lot more targets than Demario Douglas, Boutte, or Hollins, and then you start getting into an offense where there's a lot of mouths to feed, and Hunter Henry is not going to be a lock week in and week out to have a consistent target volume. So, okay, smart guy, who am I trading Hunter Henry for? I've got 2 names that I think you have a decent chance of being able to pull trades off for. The first, Woody Marks. Woody Marks just got added in a bunch of leagues over the most recent 2 weeks. Maybe the owner needs to start Woody Marks right away and is going to tell you to piss off. That's totally possible. So I've got another name for you. How about Matthew Golden, who actually had his highest route share of the season for the Packers in their game against the Cowboys, had the nice 46-yard reception that was actually intended for Dontavian Wicks. I remain a firm believer that Matthew Golden is going to break out this season, that you do want to be buying pieces of the Packers passing game, that I don't really particularly want to be buying Romeo Doubs coming off of a 3-touchdown performance. I think you have a decent chance of acquiring Woody Marks or Matthew Golden if you trade Hunter Henry away. We have another situation where I do expect a little bit of pushback, but I think J.K. Dobbins is a really ideal sell right now. He is coming off of a pretty decent game. RJ Harvey also had a very good game against the Bengals. tackles on Monday Night Football. But I think J.K. Dobbins, again, very similarly to Saquon Barkley, should carry more value in a trade market than he does carry to your team. He has clearly been the lead running back for the Denver Broncos. He has 57 rushing attempts. He's forced a decent number of missed tackles. He has 3.65 yards after contact average. His breakaway rate would be better than you would think, but we've also seen this movie with Dobbins before. He started out the year running very well for the Chargers in 2024 and then slowed down, and the only guy he was competing for playing time with on the Chargers was Kamani Vidal. Now he is competing with RJ Harvey, who is just over the course of the season going to be more explosive than Dobbins and going to provide more for the Denver Broncos in games where they really need him. Perhaps more concerningly is the thought was that Dobbins was going to be something like a third down back for this team, but that is not what has happened. Harvey has actually been trusted with more passing down work than I thought, and even Tyler Beatty is coming in and playing some of these third down snaps while the team continues to use Marvin Mims out of the backfield. Dobbins feels very safe right now, but his profile is actually rather thin, and you acquired him so cheaply that in general, your roster should still be pretty good and well-weathered to be able to take care of itself if you trade Dobbins away. Two guys who are close to him in the rest of season rankings over on Fantasy Pros that I would snap trade J.K. Dobbins away for would be Deebo Samuel, with Terry McLaurin expected to miss multiple weeks with this core muscle injury. And how about a guy who I know from reading the YouTube comments people are losing their minds about? I actually think you could position for position swap J.K. Dobbins for Travion Henderson right now. Now, if I was 1-3, if I was 0-4, would I do Dobbins for Henderson? Probably not, because you don't know if you're going to be able to start Henderson in the next 2 weeks. But I feel very strongly that when we get to the money weeks, weeks 14, 15, 16, 17, I would definitely rather start Travion Henderson than J.K. Dobbins. Our final sell is maybe one that, again, you guys are going to feel uncomfortable with, or maybe, honestly, your league mates might just be too good for this. But I think today, this week, is the perfect day to sell Keenan Allen and target guys who have been a little bit disappointing. Keenan Allen is going to be viewed as found money by many of the guys in your league. I, in fact, know that I have Keenan Allen in my home league with my buddies from high school and college, and I've actually fielded multiple trade offers for him that I've said no about, because by selling Keenan Allen, I'm actually not saying that he is like a useless fantasy player and then I expect the production to go to zero. However, I do think that the production is higher than what you can reasonably expect for him over the course of the year. I believe right now he is the wide receiver 9 in full PPR leagues, and I would definitely say lower. Now, you notice I'm saying sell Keenan Allen, but not Quentin Johnston. I think that the Quentin Johnston breakout is like relatively real at this point. I do think that the 92% route rate is going to come down here. I do think that the 1.74 yards per route run is going to decrease as well. Over the course of the season, what I would anticipate is Ladd's target share scaling up, Quentin Johnston's ADOT scaling up, and Keenan Allen being more of a complimentary wide receiver. I still think he's going to be good. I still think that you can probably start Keenan Allen, but I also don't know if he'll stay healthy for the entire year. Position for position swap, I do think that a really interesting guy to target right now is Jameson Williams, who saw 7 targets last week, has a great matchup in week 5 against the Cincinnati Bengals. I still believe in Jameson Williams. I understand that's not a popular opinion right now, and I like getting as many of these true upside guys as possible, particularly with found money Keenan Allen. A running back I would target would be Trey Benson. He got injured on Thursday Night Football against the Seahawks. He is legitimately in question for week 5. That might make it even easier to trade for Trey Benson, but I don't think Amari DiMercado, Zonovan Knight, or Michael Carter are long-term answers at the running back position for the Cardinals, and I expect that Trey Benson is probably going to be potentially a top 12 running back for the rest of the season. Now we are moving to the buy side. I told you to sell J.K. Dobbins, and I think that obviously means we should be buying RJ Harvey. Now, the issue you're going to run into is RJ Harvey was expensive. He did just have his best game of the season. His 17.4 half PPR points were more points in one game than any game this year that Saquon Barkley has had. He has not been super involved up until this point. His rushing attempts are lower than you would want. His receiving usage has been very good when he's been on the field, and in fact, his best receiving game did come in that Monday Night Football game. He has 1.41 yards per route run. Bo Nix's quarterback rating when he has been targeting RJ Harvey is his highest quarterback rating targeting any player on the Denver Broncos. And if you historically think about the way that Sean Payton offenses have functioned, the guy we've wanted has always been the receiving down back. And I'm not just talking about Darren Sproles. Pierre Thomas barely got the ball on the ground at all and was awesome in the New Orleans Saints offense. The Alvin Kamara role, of course, was so useful. Even Mark Ingram's great fantasy seasons did not come just because he was so efficient on the ground, but actually because he was so good as a receiver. And I do think if you offer the right guy, you should be able to pry RJ Harvey away. Looking at the rest of season rankings, I do think that if you did something like packaging Devonta Smith and Rachaad White together, I do wonder if in some leagues where people are so focused on floors, you might be able to offer something like Tony Pollard for RJ Harvey. And I would certainly, with Tajay Spears coming off of the IR, rather have RJ Harvey than Tony Pollard. This guy has an absolute blinking, flashing light above his head as a buy, to the point that maybe this is bad advice because no one is going to sell Breece Hall for the New York Jets for a reasonable price right now. Braylon Allen got placed on the IR with a knee injury. Isaiah Davis is really only trusted on passing downs. To me, the Breece Hall profile does scream league winner. The team has shown they do not want Justin Fields dropping back. They were basically running a service academy offense in that game against the Miami Dolphins. Breece was primed for a huge game until Braylon Allen fumbled in the red zone. Braylon Allen is now excommunicated from this offense. Breece Hall is averaging 3.29 yards after contact average. His breakaway rate has been strong. He's been really efficient when called upon in the passing game. And I do think that one of the things that the Jets are going to build into their offense with no Braylon Allen is, first off, we are going to see Breece Hall just play way more. He should be closer to a 70-75% snap share, with Isaiah Davis being the long down and distance and 2-minute throwback. But certainly that is not assured, right? We have seen Breece Hall be a really good passing down back. We saw when they were chasing the game against the Miami Dolphins in the second half, there was a lot more Breece snap and Breece usage. I think right now, if I were to say who is my number one buy in fantasy football, and remember the names that I've had as number one buys in week 3, my number one buy was Amarian Hampton. In week 4, my number one buy was Bucky Irving. Now, I know Bucky got hurt, but he did come off of his best fantasy football game of the season. I think I've been very directionally accurate with these. I do think that Breece Hall would be my number one buy for week 5. We talked a little bit about Keenan Allen earlier. We are now going to say, look, guys, it's getting ridiculous. We've got to buy Ladd McConkey. He's still top 5 in ESPN's open score. My observation just from watching the games is that nothing particularly has changed with Ladd McConkey's ability to get open. Obviously, he is losing a lot of work to Keenan Allen, but also to Quentin Johnston. And I do think that you have to, rationally adjust your ceiling for what Ladd McConkey can be. Is there any chance of him having, 107 reception season with 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns? I mean, basically, we can just kiss that goodbye. It's not happening. But the pendulum has swung way too far to the other side. Just because Quentin Johnston is breaking out doesn't mean that there isn't anything there for Ladd McConkey. As it stands right now, the Los Angeles Chargers have the most PPR points available for wide receivers of any team. All 32 teams. The Chargers are number 1 in the NFL in pass rate over expectation, and their starting wide receivers have accumulated more expected points than any other group of wide receivers in football. What I would be doing would be offering some very volatile guys for Ladd McConkey. I would rather have, for example, Ladd McConkey than Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. did just have his best game of the season. I would still offer Marvin Harrison Jr. for Ladd McConkey. Another really interesting one would be offering Javonte Williams, who at this point, let's just be real, man. The Javonte Williams thing is happening. He's going to have, a 60% chance of scoring a touchdown in a given week. He's going to accumulate yards. Miles Sanders is injured. That probably means I'm not burying Javonte Williams. I was clearly wrong about that one in the preseason. But right now, particularly with how wide receiver scoring is going, I would rather have Ladd McConkey than Javonte Williams. Our final and our top buy, my number one buy, other than Breece Hall, is going to be Tetaroia McMillan. He has this unbelievable breakout profile. He just has not been able to add the touchdowns in yet. He's got 34 targets. He has a 92% route rate, 1.85 yards per route run with a really strong ADOT. That's really the interesting thing, is they have not been just, gaming up these free targets for him. And I do think that will start to get built more into the offense as the season goes on. You start adding in some of the free yards over the middle, some screens. And man, if we get Tetaroia McMillan to 7 touchdowns over the rest of the season, and I suppose that is a pretty tall order, Tetaroia McMillan has a strong chance, I think, of going from week 5 to the end of the season of being a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. My sense is some managers who drafted Tet are going to be feeling really good about what they did. They know the advanced numbers. They know how much he's been involved. Other managers might be looking at the situation and pulling their hair out, saying, I took this guy in the 4th round of my draft. There's no way that he is going to be able to, help me with anything. The Panthers keep getting skunked by good teams. I'm absolutely miserable about it. I think some guys you could offer for Tetaroia McMillan that you might get accepted for. I think you could do something like packaging Kenneth Walker and DJ Moore together. I would rather be on the Tet side of that trade. Another really interesting one, take advantage of the momentary hype with Tyreek Hill being out for the year. I would rather have Tet than I would rather have Jalen Waddle, so I would just straight up offer Jalen Waddle for Kenneth Walker. So there you go, boys. That is 8 buys or sells in fantasy football. I would be on the sell side of Saquon Barkley, Hunter Henry, J.K. Dobbins, and Keenan Allen. I would be on the buy side for R.J. Harvey, Breece Hall, McConkey, Tetaroia McMillan. By and large, we are buying things that we expect to happen, and we are trying to fade things that everyone else thinks is going to happen. Make sure to drop your trade offers below. I will answer every question in the comments of this video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another daily fantasy football video.